I was born in Kluang, a pretty small town in Johor, Malaysia. I'm the second to my other three siblings, hence holding the position of the weirdest child in my family. Ever since I was young, I always remembered my parents worked very hard to provide us a comfortable living. Yet, I never acknowledged the fact that I'm pretty privileged at that point of time. So, let us pause for a few seconds and ask ourselves, am I privileged? Stop and ponder if you ever thought you were at some point in your life. I would most probably guess most of us do not think ourselves as being born privileged. But wait, how do you define privilege? What crosses your mind when you think you are not privileged? Is it because you are not living a luxurious life, that you do not have plenty of money to spend whenever, wherever you want, or you're just not born royalty or with a golden spoon? Certainly, that must be the case. Our immediate assumption when I mention I am pretty privileged must mean that I'm quite rich, huh? It certainly seems that the current definition of privilege is the scale of wealth we hold. Well, but allow me to explain to you what I think of privilege and to offer you a different perspective of the term itself. I came across this definition in my university years, which was that being privileged means having complete limbs and a healthy body and minds. A privileged person does not need to constantly worry about what to eat or where to stay in the next second, because food and shelter are provided by your family. You can receive things that others will have to work very hard for. And in my opinion, I could even say that a privileged person is someone who takes our basic needs today for granted. And that for me is what being privileged is about. When I was in high school, I always felt very unlucky, and I love to complain that life is not fair. Why do I have to face so many difficulties dealing with different situations that I'm not able to handle, while most of my friends are just living their life happily? I did not realize that my worries back then were only confined to school compound. I totally did not realize how fortunate I was to be able to worry about a single aspect only. Fast forward to a few years later to me entering the university in Kota Kinabalu, Sabah, where I transformed into a completely different person. This is the picture of my glamorous university, which produces aspiring young role models. But behind those amazing steel structures and fancy facilities, there exists a community which I was blissfully unaware of. These are the pictures of stateless children staying near a forest near my university. Such a big contrast, huh? I could never forget the memories I had while entering the stateless village for the first time, while I was doing a social project back then. It was the first time in my life seeing children eating grass and stones on the ground, seeing them sleeping on the ground or by the roadside, seeing young girls being pregnant, seeing the fear in these children's eyes. I was so heartbroken. We are all human beings. Why are these children so afraid of us? Why are they feeling so small in front of us? As if they should not be visible to us, and all they want is to hide. According to the United Nations, the legal definition of a stateless person is someone who is not recognized as a national by any state under the operation of its law. Simply put, this means that a stateless person is someone who does not have the nationality of any country. You must be thinking, how does it feel to be a person who does not have a nationality? I'm not the perfect person to tell, but I can share with you some stories from what I know of this community. They do not have any legal rights protecting them, hence, they are almost always being exploited by their employers. To give you an example, a young stateless teenager can only earn up to 1 ringgit 50 cents per hour as a construction worker, simply because they do not have the identification card, and there are no laws protecting them. Teenage girls get pregnant at a very young age because their parents think that they could not afford raising another children, and the best way is to marry off the children in hope that she could bring back some money. Facing discrimination is their everyday norm. Even from local Malaysians, phrases like, "Why should we want to help these illegal outsiders? They are only causing more troubles here. These people are making our country very dangerous." Can you imagine if you were born into this world, receiving all these messages from the adults around you? How devastating it could be. I would never dare to imagine. During one of my volunteering classes, one child who was 7 years old at the time was holding a baby in one hand while babysitting another sibling aged 5 years old. She was attending the class alone because her parents got deported back to their countries, leaving them alone here. When I asked her what is in the bottle she was feeding her baby sibling, she told me she simply filled some water from a nearby resource, which I knew was from the rainwater they collected nearby. Another child aged 6 years old put his chin down during the class, and I got really concerned if he was sleeping, only to find out he was crying. And the reason of him crying had me holding my tears really, really hard, because he said, "I'm so sorry, teacher, because I really wanted to focus in the class, but I couldn't do so anymore because I'm just too hungry. I have not eaten anything for too long." That is something that I never thought I would hear in real life. Another story of a child lacking of parental care because they are either left in the forest because their parents are busy looking for money outside, or are caught by the immigration and got deported back. There was another time I met one of my stateless students in my university, as some of them are employed as cleaners. He looked at me in excitement for the first second, but the next second, he turned into embarrassment and quickly shifted his face to another direction, not wanting me to recognize him. I walked straight to him and I said hi to him, but he smiled at me embarrassedly and quickly ran off. My heart sank. It was as simple as a hi to me, but for him, he did not even dare to do so due to the discrimination he has been facing his whole life. Can you imagine if you were a child living in that situation? Being discriminated against since you are born, never had the chance to enter school to receive education, and being almost certain that you will be exploited for work. And not to mention that, as you are stateless, there are no official records of your existence, and nobody will realize if you disappeared one day. And to make things even worse, it's a taboo within the society to talk about statelessness in Malaysia. There are NGOs and volunteers offering basic education and needs to the stateless children, as they are definitely the ultimate victims from this issue. However, it could only be done silently, as there are too much hatred for these communities. But statelessness is such a complex issue. It is not because people are living a comfortable life in their country and they are fleeing here. These are the people that have no options left in life, but to dare through the furious ocean and to flee from their countries in hope to find a way to live here. And this was the turning point in my life. After seeing what I see made me wonder, what is the purpose of life? Is it scoring good marks in the university, earning a handsome amount of income, and living your life happily ever after? It dawned on me that the answer is a big no for me. I have discovered there are so many things in life bigger than what we are exposed to and what we thought we can achieve. An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of his individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. From Martin Luther King Jr. is my favorite quote to live by, because I believe that the greatest ability one can have is to be able to offer help. I knew I had to do something at this point in my life. I knew that being privileged since young has provided me so much from the Mother Earth, that I should now contribute myself back to this country, to the people. And one way to do that was through helping these stateless people. And that is when I started to become appreciative about every little things in life. Because compared to these children, I am so privileged. Yet I like to complain so much about my life before. Do these children who have to babysit their younger siblings at the age of 7, or for those who have not eaten for days, ever complain to me about how hard their life is? No. The only thing that have shown us is how appreciative they are towards us, the volunteers, because we provide education and basic needs for them. And this is where I co-founded a youth-led initiative called PriviLAD with a few of my friends, with the simple goal of providing free education for these stateless children. We finally pitched our proposal and secured grant after facing numerous obstacles and endless nights in McDonald's. I started to realize we might not be the best people to help. We might seemingly have a very tiny effort. We might not be able to contribute the biggest impacts to their life. But all the we might has become almighty today because a group of people believe that we can put action forward and change something. That something might not change the whole wide world, but the world within ourselves, and hopefully for the children we have helped, have changed in a meaningful way. Never doubt a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. If you ask me how to live the best out of your university life, I would ask you to fully immerse yourself with your surroundings. Get to know what's happening around you, and if you believe you are one of the privileged people, would you want to start contributing instead of being the receiving party only? Do not be afraid of thinking, will you really make an impact because you are not an expert of this field? What you need to do is to just start doing it. Learn by actually doing it instead of planning in your mind, because I know nothing about statelessness before, and the more I'm involved in it, the more I knew I had to do something about it. There might be people questioning, why are you wasting so much time on something you couldn't solve? There might be close friends and families doubting, is it worth spending hours on issue that is so alien to them? But please trust me. If I got scared in the beginning by all these doubts and opinions, I would never have the chance to make an impact on these children's life. So start by affirming yourself every single day that you are capable of doing everything you believe you can achieve. Start small, try everything, and slowly eliminate the things that you have joined but didn't like. Because that's how I found my passion and slowly transformed into who I am today. Instead of thinking what will look good on your CV or resume, perhaps you can think of, what can I start doing to make someone's life better? Which will eventually make your days better as well. It could be a very small step, but having the courage to break through one small step in your everyday life is definitely the biggest win. Remember, I started by realizing why am I so privileged, but I'm still complaining about life compared to these children that did no harm to the society, yet are suffering the most. If there's one thing I want you to leave with my talk, that is, society should not be shaped by the opinions of the masses. You are a unique individual with a unique mindset. Identify what is wrong or right through your own lens. There might be gray areas, there might be wrong guesses. But if you find you are deeply connected with a cause and there are so many noises from the society, remember to see through your own lens and trust your own guts. If you think that is something right to do, go ahead and wait no further, because there's never a right time to start making an impact, but a right mindset. Thank you.